Well, the time has come, and they are done fermenting, so it is time to get them brewed. But before I brew, let's review some of the equipment that I'm going to use real quick. I'm going to have a strainer, a real fine strainer, as you can see. Some type of siphoning device, which you will see in use here shortly. A hydrometer, which is required to determine the proof, as you will see. And for my previous run, the tails. And here's some of the other equipment that I use. And I'll explain each one. So what we have here is a 6-quart pressure cooker, slightly modified. Biggest modification is this stem right here. That's a difficult piece to find, and when I find a link to it, or when I find it online, I'll put the information in there. But you'll take out the center stem that comes with the pressure cooker, use a step drill until this fits. And underneath that washer is an O-ring, and underneath that washer is an O-ring. And this compression fitting is used to attach to the other end, which attaches to your copper, which is also called your worm. I've got that 20 feet of 3/8 going into a 5-gallon bucket. You want to keep it on a slope, and at the bottom of the bucket I drilled a hole and put in a 3/8 ID grommet, and the copper comes out that. And it does tend to drip from time to time, so I have a drip pan underneath. And to create the heat, a simple electric hot plate. Now this other hole here will receive a grommet and the end of my thermometer, so that I can keep an eye on the temperature. It's by temperature that I decide when to save the brew, or when to save the distillate, and when not to. So first we have to get our mash into the pressure cooker. So here we have the siphoning hose doing its job through the strainer and into the pressure cooker. And the only thing left in the bucket are the oats and minimal amount of the liquid we're after. And this is what we're going to be distilling, is this muddy looking concoction. Get the lid on the pressure cooker. And over there we go. And we'll bring the pressure cooker over to the hot plate. Get the worm connected. Give it a little bit of a twist. We're using a nylon, not grommet, ferrule. We're using a nylon ferrule in here, not the copper ferrules. So that way it doesn't cause any damage and it doesn't stay permanently to your copper, so you have to cut it off when you have to replace that ferrule. This hole will get the thermometer with a grommet. And this, I dismantled the button so that I could seal it, and I stick a grommet, rubber grommet in there as well so that we can seal it so that the majority of the steam comes through your worm. So I brought in enough water up to this portion of the worm. I leave room for ice. Once it starts to show some distillate, I will put a bag of ice in and bring the water level up to about here on the worm, leaving about 2 inches of space at the top of the 5-gallon bucket. Now all we have to do is get it started. So here we are at 195 degrees, and if you notice, it just started to receive some distillate at the end of my worm. I will collect the first 2.5 ounces, and we will discard that. So at this time I will also add the ice to the bucket, and now to top it off. And we will watch the measuring glass closely till we get around that 2.5 ounces. I believe that we are ready to start saving our alcohol. And this one we will discard. And from this point we will wait until 200 degrees. Well, here we are at 200 degrees. I'm going to wait till it reads 201. And then I'm going to swap out the containers. And the reason I split it at 200 is to maintain the highest alcohol content. Now the 200 to 205 degrees, I will save that and add it to my next batch so that I can conserve the alcohol, which will increase the amount of my hearts, as they call it. And for curiosity's sake, let's just see what the proof is. We are floating. Alright, I'll give it a spin in case there's any air bubbles on it. And we are between 50 and 55%. Almost 55%, which would be 110 proof. That is the alcohol content, 55%. We'll go with that. So here we are at 205 degrees. We will stop the process. And this is the amount of distillate we got. Almost as much as our parts. We call this the tails. This will just be added to the next batch and refined further. So here's my second run after adding the tails, and I've got 3/4 of a jar, quart jar out of that one. Good return. Well, looking at 60%. That's good enough for hand sanitizer. 120 proof on that one. Looking good. The only way you really know is if you try it. Bottoms up. Oh. Is that tasty? Ooh, breathing fire. But boy, that's tasty.